Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students, friends, and listeners. It is part 6 of our lecture series Diplomacy in International Relations, and in this video, we are going to learn diplomatic developments made during 16th and 17th centuries. In our previous video, we discussed the contributions of Italian city-states towards modern diplomacy. In 16th century, there was absence of peaceful conditions in the western part of Europe. But why? Because that hemisphere of the European continent was divided into small kingdoms, and every kingdom constantly sought power to gain power to get the territory of the other kingdom to ensure and to maintain its position in the regional politics. You may say every kingdom was trying to be a regional hegemon. So, due to this struggle for power, due to this constant struggle to be a regional hegemon, was the basic reason behind the disturbance, behind the you may say civil war situation, behind this uh, behind this chaotic situation in early 16th century. As we discussed in our previous lecture as well, that state was intertwined with religion to a greater extent, and who contributed in this context: Byzantium Empire, Eastern Roman Empire actually introduced state religion, as they declared Christianity as the state religion. So, since that particular period until that moment which we are discussing right now, religion has become a very strong tool, a very strong instrument to get politico socio economic objectives. This was the period when Protestantism emerged under the guardianship of King Martin Luther, that was also known as Lutheranism. Luther raised his voice against the sale of indulgences and accused the church of blatant corruption. Before this, the authority of church was unquestionable. You may say all the political, social, and economic authorities, all the social, political, and economic powers were in the hands of church, and church was all in all. Church was free to do anything. So, this unquestionable authority of the church was questioned, was challenged by Martin Luther, by Protestants, which were after some time they were called as Protestantism. Due to having protest, their name was known as Protestantism. And now at this period, we Protestantism has become a legitimate brand of Christianity, a legitimate sect of Christianity. Right now, as you know, that there are two major brands of Christianity. One is called Catholicism and the other is called Protestantism. So this period saw also a religious conflict between these two major brands of Christianity. And we may say that one major reason behind the 30 year behind the outbreak of 30 years war was religion. This 30 years war broke out in 1618, and it ended in 1648 when the Treaty of Westphalia was signed. These constant outbreaks of wars, these constant outbreaks of violence and conflicts called for intensification of the diplomatic practices, for the usage of different diplomatic means, different diplomatic methods. So we may say that during 16th and 17th century there were happened further improvements in the field of diplomacy, which helped to institutionalize diplomacy on modern scale. As that was this the 16th century or 17th century was a period when many new independent states were emerging on the map of the world. Although earlier they were not the free and independent and sovereign states, because they were the colonies of different colonizers. But with the emergence of independent and sovereign states, and with the adoption of the Italian city states model, uh, there a need was felt to establish a kind of diplomatic immunity to spare ambassadors from arbitrary treatment by the recipient monarchs, because we have discussed that when we were discussing Roman Empire's contribution towards modern day diplomacy, that King Darius sent its envoys to Greek city states Athens and Sparta, but they executed those envoys. Why? While considering them as spies. So when there would not be certain exemptions, certain immunities to resident diplomats, they would not be in a comfortable position to do their functions smoothly, to perform their functions more efficiently. So that's why with the increasing usages of diplomatic practices, a need was felt to introduce diplomatic immunities, diplomatic exemptions. This picture you are seeing is a picture of Cardinal Richelieu. Cardinal Richelieu first was appointed as Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs in 1616, but after some time Cardinal Richelieu was became the Prime Minister of France under King Louis XIII in 1624, and in 1626 Cardinal Richelieu established the first ever Ministry of External Affairs in France to centralize all foreign affairs under one separate department. So it is the credit of Cardinal Richelieu to introduce and to institutionalize, to formalize diplomacy, to formalize foreign affairs under one separate department. There is also another contribution of Cardinal Richelieu. What is that contribution? He introduced two major innovations in the scholarship of diplomacy. What were these two major innovations? The first innovation is relating to the concept of concessions. Richelieu said that the diplomacy is a series of concessions and counter concessions, because concessions and counter concessions are a very significant part of negotiations, because when you are trying for a negotiation, when you are having table talks with the other party to sort out a conflict, you offer some concessions, and in return the other party also accepts those concessions and offer some concessions in its return. So this was the huge contribution of Cardinal Richelieu towards the field of diplomacy. What was the other innovation? The other innovation was that Richelieu focused and emphasized on the aspect of continuity of diplomacy, because according to him, diplomacy is not only the need of a wartime, rather it should be continually used irrespective of wartime or peacetime. Only then states would be in a position to get the best results of diplomacy. So, what did we learn about Cardinal Richelieu? We learned that he was the person who established first ever Ministry of External Affairs in France. And then we discussed his two major innovations. One is related to concessions and counter concessions, and the other is related to the continuity of diplomacy. This picture is a picture of a very famous person, uh, whose name is Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, he right now he is about 98 years old person. He has been working as a Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs. Henry Kissinger refers the concept that was introduced by Cardinal Richelieu, concessions and counter concessions. He refers this to trading concessions. What are the trading concessions? Actually, right now it is completely impossible to spare politics and economy from each other, because if you want to understand politics, it is very much necessary to understand economy, because without economy, without wealth, without understanding the importance of economy, importance of economics, you would not be in a position to understand the politics, the power, the authority in its real sense. Let's conclude to this discussion about 16th and 17th century. Just we said that 30 years war broke out in 1618, and this 30-year war came to an end with the signing of the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. This Treaty of Westphalia was signed in Munster and Osnaburg in 24th of October 1648, and this treaty acknowledged Protestantism as a legitimate form of Christianity. Just we said a few minutes before that. Uh, uh, Behind the emergence, behind the outbreak of this 30 years war, there was a very strong influence of religion, because there was a constant conflict between the two famous brands of Christianity, Protestantism and Catholicism. So at the end of this war, the demand of the Protestants was acknowledged there, and they were identified as a legitimate Christians. And now we can say that Protestantism was allowed to exist alongside Catholicism. And the other contribution of and the other remarkable achievement that was made through signing Treaty of Westphalia is related to territorial distribution as well. This treaty granted independence to the Swiss from the Austrian Habsburg power. As a result of 80 Years' War, the Dutch Republic gained independence from the Spanish, and this treaty also granted Sweden, Brandenburg, Bavaria more treaty. So we may say that there are certain hallmarks, there are certain big achievements that are associated, that are linked with this Treaty of Westphalia, because the religious conflict was ended, territorial distribution was sorted out, and the equality of the states, the sovereignty of the states was established. But in short, this treaty's significance can be understood by two major provisions. Number one, this treaty recognized the sovereignty of each state, uh, and prohibited the interference of external powers in domestic affairs. This is sovereignty, because if when we say that if that this political entity is a sovereign, it means we are talking about internal as well as external sovereignty. What is internal sovereignty and what is external sovereignty? We have discussed this dual aspect of sovereignty in my another video that is related, whose name is sovereignty. You may check that video. Let's proceed to the second principle, second important provision. And the second important provision is that the Treaty of Westphalia, this treaty of friendship, ensured that clergy never saw the return of its erstwhile influential position in the affairs of the state. So we may say that the diplomatic system, the present day and the modern diplomatic system, has been based on two principles. Number one, all states were sovereign, and secondly, all states are equal to each other. But I have a question that either in actual terms or the states are equal to each other, or some states are more equal and some states are less equal. This is your homework, and you all are supposed to understand this concept and to share your understanding in the comment section. I'll be waiting for your understanding. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.